Good morning, everyone. Today is Armistice Day, where millions of people across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth pause to reflect on the service and sacrifice of the men and women who fought for and are still fighting for the freedom that we enjoy today. I'm pleased to join this assembly and see so many of you taking part in Remembrance, to recognise and honour our veterans and the armed forces community.
Good morning and welcome to this year's Remembrance Assembly, a special programme where we say thank you to members of the armed forces community who help keep us safe. I'm JJ Chalmers and I am super excited to be here at the International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln. So today is Armistice Day, which is a very special day at the heart of Remembrance, because in 1918 at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month, fighting in the First World War ended. And every year since then at 11 a.m. we have had a 2-minute silence to remember those who served to keep us safe. But Remembrance is also about those in service today, not just those that served in the past. There are lots of people in the armed forces who do very difficult and dangerous jobs. And one of those people is Air Commodore Fred Wigglesworth from the RAF. Fred, what does the RAF do today?
So the RAF is really here to protect this nation and our interests overseas. So we do that through everything from launching aircraft to protect our airspace if unknown or unwanted aircraft come into it, to going out on humanitarian type missions overseas, to anything where we need to provide security for the UK, our friends, or our interests overseas.
So you served for over 25 years in the RAF. Over 10 of them you're a fighter pilot for. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, first of all, it's a huge amount of fun. It's quite exhilarating to strap on a jet onto your back, which is kind of what it feels like you're doing, and have the ability to soar into the clouds, to go flying through valleys, and to go at speed. But of course, there's a serious aspect to that as well, because we always know that we might at some point need to go on a proper operational mission and face the dangers that come with it.
So you have your own understanding of Remembrance through your service, but you've also found some sort of special connections yourself as well.
Yes, so, and slightly surprisingly, I'd been in the Air Force for 12 years already, when I discovered that my grandfather had actually fought in the First World War. And I discovered this just almost by surprise, and I learned that he had fought through the First World War, ending with the Battle of the Somme, which is where he was sort of injured but survived, thankfully.
Wow. And you have some physical memories of that time in service.
I do. So this is my grandfather's, it's actually a playbook. He was a performer. It was really interesting to learn that he had actually performed in an acting group. They entertained the troops in the trenches and often went into the local villages and performed there as well. But this is effectively his script book with some postcards, which some of them tell their own story. This one just says hell written on it, which just gives you a sense of how he is feeling. Another one talking about places in the postcards in rural France that, as it says here, are now flattened and not looking the same at all. But it's a whole treasure trove of memories that I really treasure.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Well, as well as the RAF, there are two other branches of service, the Army and the Royal Navy. Now, like Fred, lots of us have family connections to those branches of service, but actually, it's not just through family that we can have a connection to Remembrance. There are plenty of other ways too. So to find out more, we sent Fred to an amazing place of remembrance, the National Memorial Arboretum.
I'm here at the National Memorial Arboretum, a really special place for remembrance right in the heart of the country. While I'm here, I'll be looking for surprising connections to remembrance and some unusual memorials.
The National Memorial Arboretum has 422 memorials that honour the men and women who have served in the British Armed Forces in over 50 conflicts. With so much to see, I'm going to need an expert to show me around.
My name's Tony Matthews, and I've been volunteering here at the National Memorial Arboretum for 19 years.
Hello, Tony.
Good morning, Fred.
Tony, you know this place inside out.
Well,
So, can you help me find some of the more unusual memorials?
I'll do my very best. For the first memorial is just to our right here, the polar bear.
Exactly. What's that all about?
Well, it's dedicated to the 49th Infantry West Riding Division, who during the Second World War were based in Iceland.
During the Second World War, British troops were stationed all across the globe, even in the Arctic Circle.
Their general went round to visit his troops, and it was a bad snowstorm. So he jokingly said, as the troops came out to greet him, my polar bears.
Brilliant. Are there any more unusual things like this?
Yes.
The memorials are spread across a botanical garden that is the size of 90 football pitches.
Wow. This is what I'm talking about. So, Tony, can you tell me something about these two very serious-looking women?
The Women's Land Army and the Timber Corps.
Right.
During the First World War, a lot of the men were called up to go and serve their country. And so there was nobody working on the land, and we needed the food to feed the nation. And so these ladies actually went and volunteered and worked on the land.
In both the First and Second World Wars, over 200,000 women rolled up their sleeves and did manual work on farms and in factories to keep the nation fed. And this memorial commemorates their hard work and sacrifice.
Great. Should we check out the next one? So, Tony, we've got a Sikh man here with a large beard, good military uniform, and a row of medals on his chest. So what's all this about?
As you can see, it's 124,000 Sikh soldiers were killed in the First World War.
Sikhs, originally from northern India, have fought alongside the British Army for over 150 years. In line with their faith, they've always been permitted to keep their beards and wear turbans instead of helmets, even in combat roles. And there are many Sikhs still serving today.
It reminds me that regardless of our background, our faith, our culture, actually here and everywhere, remembrance is something that we all share.
Correct, yeah.
All these memorials allow us to connect to the past. Now I want to see what a current serving member of the armed forces thinks of remembrance.
My name's Connor. I'm a leading engineering technician in the Royal Navy. I'm an electrician on board, so I'm in charge of making sure that the lights and the power is on. In my service, I've spent more than 2 years total on board ships away from home.
Hi, Connor. So, Connor, when we think of memorials, we often think of stone and bronze. This looks quite unusual.
So this is the Naval Service Memorial. It uses glass panels in different colours. And on the floor, we can see the shadows with the light's reflections, and those hint at the shape of a ship.
When you're at sea and the weather's terrible, the ship's bouncing all over the place, do you ever feel scared on board?
A day-to-day job, I don't expect to have to risk my life, but in the Royal Navy, we do. When you're on a ship, if it goes down, there's no grave but the sea. There are no markers. You can't put a gravestone on a random bit of ocean.
So how do you feel about knowing that if something were to happen to you, that you would be remembered in places like this?
It's really important, because if something does happen and my ship does go down and I don't make it, I know that something like this is here to mark my service. I know that I'll be remembered.
Well,
Right,
thanks very much. It's good to see you again. I've had a great day here at the National Memorial Arboretum. I've seen a whole range of different memorials, a whole range of different cultures and faiths that have served alongside us here in Britain. I've learnt about all the people that went before and fought in the past, and then the people that are serving today, like Connor, risking his life every day in the ship. It's been a great day.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you to Tony, to Connor, and of course to Fred for that wonderful tour. And I hope you've discovered some sort of connection that might have inspired you. But you don't have to go to a memorial to remember. Actually, there are tons of creative ways that you can use as acts of remembrance, like Dave and Poppy here, who use art, specifically painting, in fact, these paintings here, as an act of remembrance. Now, Dave, you served in the army. Tell me a little bit about your time in the military and how it led you to making works of art like this.
Yeah, I did 22 years in the army, and then when I left, I picked a paintbrush up and that was it.
Wow. So you're kind of self-taught?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
Tell me a little bit about your works of art. I mean, this is sort of inspired by the First World War?
Somebody had requested it. It was somebody with a Scottish heritage, and it was obviously the Scots in Flanders, and it was just, that was the inspiration behind it. And at the time I was going through a silhouette phase where I quite like doing silhouettes, and I like to think that it makes the red of the poppies pop.
Yeah.
With the background being so dark.
Is this from the Second World War?
Obviously, it's a Lancaster bomber and a Spitfire escort going across a poppy field. And again, it was another request.
And all of your artworks have poppies in them, which of course is the sort of the symbol of remembrance. And Poppy, that's your name. Do you do a bit of art as well?
Yeah, I do the same, but not as good as he does, because he's been doing it for 10 years.
Right. How long have you been doing it for?
8.
Wow. So you started very young?
Yeah, when I was 5.
Right. And what do you get out of it? Is it just enjoyment?
I do enjoy it, but I also enjoy giving the money when I sell them to the charities.
And for the rest of the assembly, Dave and Poppy are going to be working with a group of young people from Lincoln Minster School to create artworks like this. And we can take a little look now. So Dave, what's going on here?
I've set the guys away painting poppy fields with one of my weird techniques, painting with wet wipes.
Painting with wet wipes?
Yeah, it's a bit messy. It's a bit like finger painting, I suppose, but it's just something I developed when the kids were small. We used to do it.
So this is how you did your artwork when you were 5?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems to work. Is this the first time you've ever painted with wet wipes?
Yeah.
Yeah? Honestly, they look absolutely gorgeous. So this is still like methods you use today?
Yeah, well, no, not really. No, I'll do a few remembrance themed things in schools, and when I do it in the schools, I tend to drop back to this because I know that most kids can achieve something with the wet wipe technique.
Yeah, it looks lovely. How are you finding it, guys?
Very effective. Yeah, really fun.
Yeah, and is it giving you time to think as well?
Yeah.
Well, it's looking wonderful. Well, as we're learning, remembrance can take lots of different forms, and really it's just about finding what matters to you. So we're going to take a little chance now to discover how different people choose to remember.
Armistice Day is an important time for us to stop and reflect. It is a reminder that remembrance is for everyone. When we remember, we connect with service in a personal way. And when we wear a red poppy or take a moment of silence, we are saying thank you. We have not forgotten, and we will not forget.
All across the country, a huge variety of remembrance events take place each year. The most famous is at the Cenotaph in London, where the royal family pays their respects, along with serving members of the armed forces, veterans and politicians. But there's no strict way of remembering, and different communities have their own special ways of doing it. We use the red poppy to symbolise remembrance. This dates back to the First World War. The battlefields were completely destroyed. But when the fighting stopped, poppies grew from the mud. Ever since, this fragile flower has represented service, sacrifice, and hope. Today, the poppy gives us freedom to be creative with how we remember. And it's amazing to see what people do.
Coming together for remembrance is a vital way to honour those whose service keeps us safe. Their memories matter, their lives matter, and they remind us to be respectful, kind, brave, and thoughtful every day. I hope that you can find your own connection to remembrance and carry it forward so we never forget. Thank you.
Well, that was a lot of different ways to remember it, wasn't it? And I hope it has inspired you to find your way to remember today. This is Manpreet Maycock. Now, you are both in the army, but you also work for the National Health Service.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I work for Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital in London, and I also work for Army Air Corps, and I'm a reservist.
Right, so you work part-time in the army?
That's correct, yeah. So we'll do one evening a week, and then in combination we'll have weekends.
What is your job in the army then?
So I work, like I said, with the Army Air Corps, and it's working as a ground crew. So it's very much like, imagine like Formula One when you have pit crew. And that's kind of my role as a ground crew, looking after and making sure everything is safe and ready for the pilots to run the helicopters. And that's what we look after.
Wow. What made you want to join the army in the first place?
I saw a poster. There were two girls wearing uniform, just the way I'm wearing right now. And they were carrying rifles. The first question that came to my mind was that I didn't know women could actually join. It really opened up my eyes to kind of explore a bit more.
Wow. So you really answered that question.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter about your religion, your gender. It doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you're willing to work hard and put all the effort in. It's taken me out of my comfort zone. It's the hardest thing I've done physically and mentally, but it's made me a strong person, and I don't say no to anything anymore. Everything else is easy because the training is so hard.
And I know that when you sort of look at the contributions that people have made to the armed forces, particularly in the past, you think about the contributions of the Commonwealth.
In World War I, 1.3 million soldiers just from India came and supported the war efforts, which was huge. The contributions were amazing, whether it was soldiers, nurses, pilots from all around the continent. It was incredible. And then when we think about the Second World War, over 5 million soldiers came from Commonwealth countries and contributed to the war efforts and supported Britain.
Well, thank you so much, Manpreet. It is fascinating to learn about the contributions from people in so many different countries. And it just goes to show that remembrance stretches all around the world. Now, here at the heart of the International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln stands this incredible monument called the Spire. It is 31 metres tall, which is the height of a 10-storey building. It was made this way to show the wingspan of the famous Lancaster bomber, one of the most legendary aircraft of the Second World War. The Lancaster could fly long distances, carry heavy loads, and had a crew of 7 people, including pilots, gunners, and a navigator. Whilst there were 7 people on board, it took more than just the pilots and navigators to make these things fly. That's why on these walls around the spire, there's the names of 58,000 people who lost their lives serving in Bomber Command, many of whom came from nations throughout the Commonwealth. Now, of those who survived the Second World War, not many are alive to this day. So that is why we are delighted to have not just 1, but 4 veterans of the Second World War who have sent us messages and are able to share their unique understanding of remembrance.
I'm from Trinidad. One day I saw a notice where they were asking youngsters to join the forces. We know it's a war, but it was one way of seeing the world.
In Jamaica, we came forward in the thousands. Brave now, what is it about brave? You were single-minded. And of course, Churchill, he was the man.
Volunteered for the Royal Navy. At the time, I was still 16. My parents weren't happy. I tried to tell them I'd been conscripted, which just did not wash. But I loved it.
One day on the notice board, they were asking for volunteers and they issued us with tropical gear. I thought, oh my God, where are they going to send me then? Burma. Oh, it was sweaty. Every day you wake up in the morning and look up and say, oh God, there's the damn sun again. No escape.
Oi, oi, oi. Haha. Well, really, I was stationed in Carlisle. It was like on the tunnel sort of thing. Churchill, that's right. You only got to mention the name and say, you know, you're going to get some good news.
We heard about it at the base. Oh yes, there's plenty of free drinks available. And it went on into the night, you know.
When they made the announcement, no hostilities finished, absolutely no reaction. No, hey, nothing. The guys around me just drifted away, and so clear in my mind, I stepped on the main deck. The sea was like glass. We were gliding through it. Cape Bon, North Africa was there. I went to a quiet place after the ship, sat down and said, thank God. And that was it. How do I feel about it? I came home. People should never forget the lads who never came home. Never. Yeah.
Wow, what an incredible film. And we send a big thanks to all of our veterans, not just for their service and sacrifice, but also for sharing their stories. Now, Ralph and Prince are just two of 16,000 men and women from the Caribbean who aided the war effort. And the Caribbean community is just one of many communities that came together to help win the Second World War. And like many people, Ralph and Prince settled in the UK after the war. And when people live and work together, they share cultures like food, like art, and like music. Music like the traditional sound of the steel pan, which this year, for the first time, will be part of our act of remembrance. And Zola here will be playing it. Just like that. That is lovely. Tell me, why is this so special to Caribbean culture?
So the steel pan is quite important to Caribbean people and in our culture. A long time ago, Caribbean people would drum to sort of connect to their African ancestry, and then it got banned. So in order to sort of celebrate their roots and sort of remember that kind of thing that they were connected to, they started banging pieces of metal and oil cans and things like that. And then eventually the shape became more standardized and there became more notes, and then music was born and the steel pan sort of genre and music style was born.
So for the armed forces in the Caribbean, this is quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, so I guess it serves as representation of the Caribbean community and the people that took part in the war, and also Windrush generation as well, the people that came to Britain afterwards to try and help.
Tell me, what's Remembrance like for you? How do you connect to it?
I've got one grandma from Barbados and a granddad from Dominica. And then on my mum's side are Pakistani, so I guess the South Asian representation is there for me as well. So I'm aware there were millions of South Asians that were drafted, so it's kind of on both sides quite important.
Wonderful. And later, Zola will be playing for us, which I cannot wait to hear. Now, as we're getting closer to 11 a.m. and our 2-minute silence, I just wanted to check in with our resident artists, Dave and Poppy, and this lot from Lincoln Minster School to see how they're getting on with their remembrance art. Are we done?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, tell me, they're looking wonderful. When you look at them, what do you think?
Well, I suppose that every poppy tells a story. You can realise that each poppy represents a person. I never knew that you could paint remembrance.
Yeah, it's great to be able to, show remembrance in whatever way you kind of want to. And, well, now you've got another way to do it. Dave and Poppy and this lot are not the only ones creating remembrance art. This year, the Royal British Legion and the National Literacy Trust put out a call to action to school children all across the country to join their Remembrance Poetry Workshop. It's run by professional poet Thomas Roberts, and it's a nationwide celebration of remembrance through poetry. And let me tell you, we have had some incredible entries. Take a look for yourself.
I hope you're enjoying the Remembrance Assembly. Now, back in September, we actually had creative writing workshops where more than 45 1,000 pupils got together to have a go at writing poems on the theme of remembrance, why we remember, and what that silence means to us. I am so thrilled to present you with a few of those poems that we can now all hear together.
Remember the soldiers that committed to go to war to help us live in peace. They gave up their family, friends, and life. Their obedience and confidence saved us. Remember their empathy and courage for those who fought for peace, love, and us. Remember the soldiers who fought our way. We all remember it as Armistice Day. Remember the harsh training and the poor conditions. It's allowed us now to have ambitions. Reconsider how hard they tried. They achieved peace and more lost their lives. If they lost the war, we would be no more. On the 11th of November, 11th hour, 11th day, reflecting on you, we pray. You respect us, that is why we embrace your special day.
The beauty of a memory, so that's always there, like a pen in your pocket, you can take it anywhere. You can always remember and use your brain. You always need to remember the soldiers' pain. They fought for us and sacrificed their lives for us. Because of this we can all thrive. Remember November, the 11th month, the 11th day, the 11th hour. It was a miracle when the wars ended.
The battlefields dim and dark where wounded soldiers lay. Can there be hope in a battlefield so grey? But in the muddy ditch in the battlefield, something unexpected grows. In a place of violence, something nobody knows. As the battle goes on, more poppies sprout out of the ground, and by the time the war's ended, they've bloomed all around. And now there's no war in our country, but to this very day, we remember the soldiers who fought for us with no price to pay.
Now we're coming to the close of our assembly and we are approaching the 2-minute silence. Now remember, when it comes to the 2-minute silence, what you think about, well, there's no right and wrong answers. It really is different for everybody. But I really hope that this assembly has given you some ideas about what you're going to think about at 11 a.m. For me, I think about my time in service. I think about the friends that I lost when I served in the Marines, but not just the sad memories of that loss, but actually the incredible times that I had with them and the amazing things that I was able to do when I served my country. Manpreet, what do you think about?
So I think about those who are currently serving and giving their lives for us and working so hard for our future, for our young generation coming forward.
Yeah. Fred, what about yourself?
My mind goes straight back to the trenches in the First World War, and I sort of visualise myself there with my grandfather. And I think about him and all of his fellow soldiers who may not have had someone else thinking of them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, and we hope that you can find some sort of personal connection in your life as well. Now, before that 2-minute silence, we're going to hear some music. You might recognise this piece. It's called The Last Post. Now, The Last Post is usually played at the end of a day of service for those that serve in the armed forces. But it's also used to honour those that lost their lives in service. Now, we mentioned it a little earlier that The Last Post this year is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be played by Zola on the steel pan, as well as Luke from the RAF cadets on the bugle. The Last Post finishes and we'll go straight into the 2-minute silence. So try to think about what you're going to think about during those 2 minutes. Now, it just remains for me to say thank you to everybody who has taken part in this year's assembly. Our current serving military personnel, Fred and Manpreet, are amazing, inspiring veterans. Ralph, Prince, Ernest and Albert, our fantastic musicians Zola and Luke, and of course all of our friends in the British Armed Forces currently serving around the world. We hope that you've taken time and you've had some thoughts that connect you to remembrance, and that you've learned what remembrance is about and what it means to all of us, and how you can play a part in honouring the men and women who have served and continue to serve and keep us safe. On Armistice Day and every day, we will remember them. So, thank you for joining us, and we will leave you with Dave, Poppy, and the children from Lincoln Minster School as they lay their wonderful artwork here at the IBCC. Goodbye.